Hey guys, this is Kevin Johnson, and I'm here with Warren Johnson. He's the owner of Hell's Roaring Ranch and also the owner of the X Lazy F brand. And this is a guy that we've known for quite a while, and somebody that we've come to learn and admire over the last couple of years, and somebody that we've had the fortune of sharing some of Warren's experience and stories and what have you with the folks that we brought up here to the ranch. But we wanted to share some of that with you today at the Build Conference, because if there's ever a gritty man on this earth that could share some stuff with us and talk to us about the realities of being gritty and what it takes to make a business run, it's Warren. So I wanted to, again, introduce you to Warren. We're here at his libation center here in the trophy room. But one of the first things I want to ask Warren
Well,
is
first, thanks, Kevin.
oh,
I appreciate that.
yeah.
It's been an honor having you guys at my place.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you allowing us to come back.
Yeah.
Um, but we know, it's interesting because even coming up here, Shelley and I were talking. I've known over the years that just one element. Somebody might come up here from Gardner, Montana, and go on a horseback ride and think this is kind of cool. That they own horses, but not really see much less the bigger picture or even what really goes on behind the scenes. And I knew what the number was, I think 2 years ago, but you guys took like 10,300 people on horseback rides or something.
9,600.
9,600. Okay. So 9,600 people, and you only do it for out of what, a couple months?
3 months.
3 months. So 9,600 people. And it's interesting because here we are staying on this ranch, and yeah, you got what? How many hundreds of horses?
350.
350 horses, and it's not just owning horses; it's running a business, and it's about being gritty. And one of the things we've appreciated about this is you came up, and I love the story about you coming up here long, long time ago. Was it 43?
1982.
1982, and there wasn't much here.
Not much at all. Not much at all. It was pretty bleak.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty bleak.
And so, just like, if you don't mind, share a quick story about you. In a sense, you walked up here and there was nothing.
Well, I'll go a little bit further than that. We were living in Gardner, Montana, and I overheard a chance to buy an outfitting business. And I was working construction up in Yellowstone, which I hated. And I wanted to be my own boss. And I talked to Sue, we bought it. But in order to buy it, we had to have a base of operations. Sue had me call this guy who owned it from Nebraska, owned this property. And he told me no, he was getting a divorce. He needed that property. So we needed to have it. So I told Sue, and it was the only time I lied to her. And I told her, I said, yeah, he said we can move up because we had to do it. I had to have a base or I'd lose everything. So we moved up. I cleaned it up. She had me call him a few times, and I'd have a few pretend calls, which I pretty uncomfortable. And so I cleaned it up, and I built Krell's, and he showed up here on May 15th. I saw his truck coming up the road. I knew his truck, and I told Sue, take Jeremiah and go behind the barn. I said, don't ask any questions, just go. He pulled into the yard, gets out, and he says, am I going to have to throw you in jail or what? He said, I told you couldn't live up here. And I said, look around, Harold. You've never seen this place look so good. I said, I worked like a slave to make it look right. And after about an hour, we settled down, and we ended up being lifelong friends, and I bought the place. But it took some nerve to do it.
Yeah.
A lot of nerve. And, it's easy to sit here and say that, but to go through the nights and the work and sweat, building it, knowing you might be kicked off in 2 months. But I got my base of operations. I got my outfitter license. I had my camp, so I was all right.
And it's funny because I think especially in today's world, and of course I can't speak to it then, I can't speak to your situation, but I know I've seen it through clients of mine, and I've seen it through friends of ours and what have you. But one is you saw something that could be, right? You kind of saw like there was a vision of something that could be up here. And I remember you even saying something, I don't know if was it your dad? You said, I'm going to live up there or something.
I told my dad when I was 8 years old, I want to live there.
So their vision was true.
The house, it was a vision. I'd always dreamed of it.
And and then there's the risk, that you go into it. It's like you didn't even know if it's going to work out.
No idea.
Harold could have come up here and said, pack your stuff and
go. Yeah, and if I'd have left that time, then I'd never been welcome back. So I had to make it present myself as a hard-working person, which I was. That's all I ever did is work and show some grit.
Yeah. And that's the kind of the thing is like, how many times could you have given up since
Oh
1982?
my gosh.
And I'm just saying like even the couple of months before Harold walked up here, you could have just said, you know what, this is just too much.
It's not worth it.
And you did get some
Yeah.
feedback from Sue that she wasn't enjoying it, right?
Oh yeah. Sue came from a different lifestyle than I did. What I thought was pretty cushy, she thought was pretty rustic living.
Yeah.
But it all worked out well, and she's been a trooper.
Yeah, and I only say that because I think everybody, I mean, how many, and it doesn't even have to be Sue, how many times in all your life of starting to carve out your own place in life have people told you that's not going to work?
Probably over 100. Every venture, I think, big venture that I went into, said you're crazy.
1,000 Colts?
1,000 colts in Canada that I bought. Called Sue up and say, Sue, we need $600,000 in 2 weeks, something like that. Or I bought a camp. I
Yep.
bought 3 or 4 camps. Said, Sue, we need the money. I never ever bought anything in my life when I had the money to do it, as you know.
Yeah.
And and I've never not believed in myself.
Yeah.
That was the key. When I thought it through, and when I knew that I was right. I was right. I never questioned myself ever, ever. Even when I was a little kid, I left home when I was 14. I was scared, but I knew it was the right thing to do. And they've always panned out. All of the big things. There's always little things where you smash your finger or something, but they don't count in life. But the big majority things, I always held true, and I was always had enough grit to go through with it. I never ever weakened. I told Sue that when we first got married. I said, never let anyone see you weaken. When you might think it, but never show it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the best way.
And it's funny because, we throw around the word grit, and I think if you've lived it in a sense, you kind of know and understand it. But that's why I kind of talked about having the vision of like what you want to do. You said believe in yourself, but you got to stick with it
Mm-hmm.
because you'll encounter people that will tell you it's not going to happen. And sometimes you get that little voice in your head that will tell you it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But again, now we fast forward from 1982 to today, and you guys are taking somewhere in the neighborhood of 10,000 people on horseback rides, which is in 3 months. It's kind of a big deal.
Pretty biggest operation probably in the Northwest,
Yeah.
maybe in the United States.
And that's what Shelly and I were talking on the way up here. I knew it was big. I didn't realize like it was that big.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Huge. Yeah.
And it's, and that's why I say sometimes we can overlook or look past things and we not really even see what's in front of our face. But you fast forward to today, and again, like I'm just curious, like what if you were to list off the couple of ways or the multitude of ways you make money with this ranch or this horse or the horses? Like,
well, the first off is the horseback rides.
Yep.
And then the hunting, of course.
Yep.
That was the big business in the original time. Starting to put on rodeos, promote, selling my horses. I've traded 17,000 horses in my life.
Never knew that.
Yep. Right. Sue has a count. She kept pretty good count. And she, when you did what when I bought 1,000 horses, she kept pretty good track of it. And those were the biggest money makers. But I never turned down a job when I needed it. I always had the big picture in mind, and I wasn't going to let that be destroyed by not going out and doing some work that I didn't quite like. I used to shoe horses when I needed cash. It was just a multitude of things that I did. We drag game in, retrieve game for cash money when we needed it. That was the biggest problem. And when we were younger years, I'd hunt all day. I was a horseshoer, and I won many competitions in the United States. And I was top third horseshoer in the Northwest at 3 or 4 different fairs. And so I used to shoot horses at night after we hunted. Sue would hold the flashlight for cash. I'd come in, I'd be so tired at 9 o'clock. Then I'd go shoot 2 horses till 11, and we'd get up at 3. But I never once did provide for my family or for the business. I never let laziness get in the way of my vision.
Yeah. And that's another thing I think can get overlooked is I know just from listening to you, sometimes there will be things that, again, you'll have a vision or idea of something, but you'll know that I gotta shoe horses, or I have to sell horses, or I have to do some mixture of things because it's going to let me do something else. And it's, I think for some of the folks here at Build, you might look at it as, if I sell 2 more homes, and I'll have this amount of money or this amount of cash that I can reinvest in myself to go do something else. And I think, I know listening to you, you've had stories like that too, where you're just gonna, you got to do something else to free up cash or make money just to reinvest in yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes you have to cut the ties with what you're doing a little bit,
That's big.
yeah, because you can't let the big picture go. You can't let the base of operations leave, or you have nothing.
Yeah.
So there, you always have to protect this, and I would do anything to protect my ranch and my property. Or when in 2017, I bought the town that I grew up in.
Yep.
And that was a tremendous milestone in my life.
So when you don't return my text, I just know you're reinvesting in yourself, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes I'm not the best.
No. I'm messing.
But I was if you want to hear this story,
Yeah.
I was we were sitting down to finish the thing in Jardine, and they had 4 of their big shot lawyers, and I had a lawyer that I hired that was trying to talk me out of buying it, but I knew in my heart.
Yep.
But he was scared of what was going to happen. He was thinking like a lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
and
all the reasons why not.
Yeah, and I don't think that way. I think of all the reasons why
Mm-hmm.
do it. I just scratch out the ones that are not, because I can usually build around the ones that are not or make them disappear. And I got up in the middle of the meeting and left. And Sue was just awestruck. And I walked out, and in about 2 minutes, there was 2 lawyers run out there. And it saved me, honest to God, it saved me $2 million. The price went down from $3 million to $1 million.
Wow.
And then they took $600,000 and put it in an escrow account and gave it to me to run the place for 4 years. And then when I did that, after 4 years, they returned what was left of it, which was $450,000.
Wow.
So I bought the place for $400,000.
Wow.
I sold 10 acres for $2.2 million, and Sue's brother 2 acres for $350,000.
You made a little
changed
back.
my whole life. It changed my whole life, yeah. And I was able to get pretty much square with the world, the taxes and all
Yep.
that takes that. But I just held my nerve with those lawyers, and they tried to intimidate me a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but it didn't work.
I
told them, I showed them my hands, and I told them, I says, you guys, I've worked hard, and I says, I'm not gonna lose anything in my life what I work for. I says, I'll go down fighting, and it really shocked them when I got up and walked out. You're all there. Yeah.
Not the first negotiation you've been.
Nope, not the first at all. Yeah, no, I'll tell you what, I've negotiated my whole life with grizzly bears. I'm not going to be scared of a couple lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for certain.
They get more teeth and claws.
Yeah.
Not just pens. So yeah, it's and again, it's one of those things that I think we hear grit, we throw grit around, and to actually see it and know like what can happen as a result of just having the vision for something better for yourself, something you want to create. And I know like, and even with a vision, I know like you've seen buying the 1,000 horses, you've seen buying this place or Jardine, but I'm guessing some of it's also bigger than that as family.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, because in a sense, like, I have to believe like you're the driving force for everything that's happened around here.
Yep.
I mean, I know it takes a family unit to pull it all off and make it all happen. But if you went to Hawaii on vacation for a year, I don't know that it would look the same when you got back.
No, I'm kind of the anchor and what everyone looks up to. I don't micromanage, but I check the big picture.
Yeah.
And the big picture's got to be right, and everyone knows that works for me.
Yep.
And,
tough but fair.
Tough but fair. I never ask anyone to do anything that I don't do or haven't done.
Mm-hmm.
I can't always do that, obviously, when you get running things, but I'll be there if they need me.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
No matter what it is.
And one of the other things that I'll kind of pull into this, and then maybe we'll figure out if I'm not asking any questions, which we'll edit that part out. But one of the things that I've also thought was absolutely amazing over the years that we've been here, and I don't know if we've ever said this to you, and maybe I shouldn't be saying that to you, But the first time we went back on that hunt in 2020, that's the first time in our lives we've ever spent that kind of money to do anything like that. And I mean, we went into it with trepidation. We went on the word of somebody else, and it's kind of like, what are we getting ourselves into here? And then we got back there, and after one full day of being back there, it was like, how do they do all this? I have no idea how they do all this because it's like so you don't just like go down to the stockyard, pick up some rank horses and put people on them and say good luck with that, right?
No.
Everybody rode 22 miles from here and got to camp, and there's dinner sitting there waiting for them, and they had a good ride all the way back through there. There's a whole there's almost what actually probably more people working for you than there are people in the backcountry hunting.
Quite possibly, yeah.
I think there was that year.
Yeah.
And, so it's like it takes a whole village to take care of a couple of greenhorns that ride back there with you. And, you kind of have to wonder, like, how do they pull it all off? But the funny thing is like, we have to thank Warren because he literally just came in from sorting horses to come in here and do this interview with us. And, there's Chris, who's been coming up here for 30 years.
Yep.
And, you got young kids that have come up here at 13 years old and they're still working here 10 years later. And, we watched the change going back to your firm but fair thing. We watched the change just in one kid from spring where he was a bit of a smart aleck. And, we came back in the fall and it was yes, ma'am and no, sir, totally changed. And his humility, I mean, it was so interesting to watch it. And he's like, these guys work 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much every day.
Easily. In the summer till 8.
And the funny thing is like these kids, they work their butts off. They go to bed worn out and dirty. And, the funny thing is not just the hard work, but we've watched them out there and they've become good with people.
Yeah.
And we watch them leading groups that are going out on rides, hour-long rides, 2-hour rides. They've never been on a horse before. And they're like little tour guides, but they're professional. They keep them safe and people come back smiling. And these are kids that might have literally left Georgia 2 months ago, never stepped foot on a horse before.
Yeah. I teach them. At the beginning, it's a little hard, for the first 2 weeks.
Sure.
When they go to bed at night, they don't think you can wake up in the morning. But there's no time for messing around. They're so tired. They've never worked that hard in their life, but it doesn't kill them. Look at what they're like when they leave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're confident, they're strong, they're fit, they feel good about themselves. They know that they're not sluggish or anything in the mornings. They got to get on top of things and get things done. Yeah.
And I bring that up because I think, especially in today's world, people think that, and I will say, I think a lot of us have gotten soft over the years. So I won't say that about you, but I think in general, the public has gotten a little soft compared to what it used to be. And a lot of people right now say that nobody wants to work. But yet I come up here and I find, like you're saying, kids that have come up here and they might be 18 to 20 years old and they've never done any of this kind of work before. And like you said, they go to bed and they don't even know if they'll be able to wake up tomorrow morning. And then they come back the next year. Mm-hmm. And then they come back the next year.
They like it. And you know what? I think a lot of it is I lead by example. I try and be that way,
Yep.
And I joke with them and tease them too. Mm-hmm. We have a good rapport.
Yeah.
Good kids. I've had 655 kids work for me, and there's only been maybe 10 that didn't work, that had to leave or left on their own. Yeah.
And I bet that was still a learning experience for them at the time.
Probably.
Yeah.
One of them he came back 2 years ago with his family and apologized to Sue.
That's pretty awesome.
Yep, 2 years ago. I wasn't here. I would have shook his hand, but he came back and apologized to Sue for being a little brat.
That's
funny.
He
was in his 30 years old, and he had kids and a family, and they went on a ride. Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah,
that's super funny.
Yeah.
So I'll wrap it up with this. If there was one thing you would give to somebody who's like they're in business, they want to grow, or they want to, level up their business, just create something better for themselves.
Never ever give up on your dream. Ever look anyone in the eye. Never weaken. Stick to your guns because people respect that.
Yep.
And do whatever you have to do within reason to get it done.
Okay.
That was my motto.
It's on the barn out there.
Yeah.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you again,
You're
Warren
welcome.
Johnson, and
Okay.
enjoy the rest of build.